Pawel Zerka is a policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations, and he thinks populist leaders have their own internal problems to contend with, and a Trump retreat would not necessarily mean a change in their standing.
You know, COVID was not a very good time for populist leaders across the world, from Brazil to Poland. And I think that Trump's victory surely doesn't help them. And the crisis has shown that many of them have been ruling incompetently. But I still believe that for most of the populist parties and leaders, and most of them are still in the opposition rather than ruling their countries, it was Trump's victory in 2016 rather than his defeat in 2020, which is still more important because it makes them more electable. But Trump, for the leaders like Polish leaders or Brazilian ones that you mentioned, was mostly a nice to have rather than a must. They have their own internal problems, and if they lose power anytime soon, it will be because of those internal problems rather than because Trump is suddenly no longer in the White House.
So aside from Trump, then, what would you say are the factors that are driving populism in Europe?
It depends on the country and on the region. So in Poland and much of the Eastern and Central Europe, it's about the defense of so-called traditional values against the dangers of LGBT or women's rights. There are countries in the South where it's mostly about being anti-migrant or even anti-Islam, which is also influentially among the populist leaders in the North, who are nevertheless also focusing on not wanting to pay much more to the European Union's budget, which is not necessarily the thing that the Southerners are talking about. And finally, there are parties like Vox in Spain, whose nationalism is not necessarily directed at the European Union, but mostly at national regionalism, such as the one in Catalonia. So this shows that they have strong drivers that are making them popular, and Trump's defeat does not necessarily change that.